Hello and welcome to Attacking Third on Sundays. We're going to be doing this for a little while, so make sure you stay tuned and bookmark everything A3. We've got initial reactions from the weekend, we've got the biggest takeaways, and a best 11 that we're going to do. So stay tuned. We're going to talk all about it when we come back. Hello and welcome back to Attacking Third. I'm Sandra Herrera alongside Darian Jenkins, Jess McDonald. We got to talk all things opening weekend because NWSL is back. We want to chat our biggest takeaways. We're going to maybe tease a little bit of some players along the way when we name a best starting 11 out of the opening weekend. And of course, we want to thank everybody for joining us here on Attacking Third, whether you're joining us live on YouTube, if you're watching us on Golazo Network, or listening to us as a podcast. We're just happy that you're here. Quick reminder that Attacking Third is now on every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, and we're going to be on every Sunday throughout the NWSL season. We're going to be going live after the final whistle of the last match on the NWSL schedule to discuss our biggest takeaways from the weekend, and we're going to start right now. Darian, Jess, I'm so happy to be here with you. Jess, I'm going to start with you because you've been crushing it on A3, but now you and I finally get to do our thing. How are you?
I am fantastic, even better now that the NWSL has finally started. I feel like the off season just kind of drags and you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs, waiting for football to start happening again, especially once, I don't know if you guys watch American football, but NFL's over. I don't really watch the NBA, so I'm just like, come on, NWSL, it's tap, tap. So how exciting. What a crazy weekend already. I mean, goals here, goals there. You get a goal, I get a goal. So a lot of fun stuff to talk about. So
yeah. Yes, on this side of retirement, you're wanting the off season to go quicker?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. For once in my life.
For once in your life, you want a quicker off season.
Out of the 13 years playing professionally, this is the first time.
Hurry up. Yes. Oh my God. Darian, how are you? How was your weekend? Was there anything like non-soccer that you did to prep for this moment that we're all together here on Sunday night?
Oh, I finally had that martini that Lisa owed me.
Oh,
there we go.
Yes, while watching so many other teams come out in a 3-back. But no, really my whole weekend, my whole day, like usual, is just filled with watching matches over and over. So it was good, eventful. I brought some people together. We watched the games. We cheered on some of the teams this weekend. It was a lot of fun. Try to make it more of an event now. You know what I mean?
I love that. NWSL is back. Bring a friend. That's the energy. I love that. Let's do it. Let's go. It's hard to believe, and maybe it's not too hard to believe because we know what NWSL is capable of, but there was a ton that happened over the course of these matches. Let's go through maybe some reactions to some notable moments throughout the weekend. I think we have to start with these top 4 teams. I think going into this weekend, we knew some teams were maybe going to separate themselves just off of what they did in 2024. Orlando Pride, Kansas City Current, Washington Spirit came out swinging. Gotham had a good performance. 21 goals on opening weekend.
21.
We got to make a comparison. Mark should give us a comparison to last year's opening weekend and if they smashed it or met it. But 21 goals. Barbra Banda had a brace. There were young debuts. Let's start with some of those things here. An actual opening night was Friday, and Orlando Pride had a ridiculous performance to open up the 2025 season. We're talking putting up 6 big ones on Chicago Stars FC, and Barbra Banda putting the stamp on it towards the end of the game with a brace. I've got 2 wonderful former forwards who played in the NWSL. I want to get both your Barbra Banda hits coming out of opening weekend. Darian, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll go first. Barbra Banda, you can see exactly what she worked on in the offseason. She added even more finesse to her game. I think now we're seeing her be unselfish in moments where last year I think, oh, she for sure is going to take the shot, where we see her setting somebody else up and then hustling to get into the 18, or having this really, really beautiful touch to not make a defender, then go 1v1 and slot it home for a goal. I think we're seeing the evolution of her growth, which is so scary to say, from what she did terrorizing teams last year. She's a forward you cannot make a mistake around. And when teams, when they were trying to play out and a slow pass was made, or there wasn't enough pace on it, the texture was a little weird, a touch was a little too far from your body, Banda's there sniffing it out. And I just loved it, because you're thinking, even we interviewed Seb Hines a couple of times last year, and we were like, how do you even train Banda? Like, seriously, what do you do to make her have to go into situations where she doesn't come out on top, where you're actually training maybe some of her quote unquote weaknesses? And I think we're really seeing it. And she just looks so suave and confident, and like she hasn't skipped a beat from last season.
Jess, for you, it's only week 1, but have you seen any evolution to Banda's game in just what we saw out of her performance against Chicago?
Oh, 100%. You could definitely tell her technical ability was something that she worked on this offseason, because her first touch sometimes would be a little too far from her. And so that would stop her from scoring a goal or making an assist. So now you see the comfortability that she has on the ball now. She's getting out of tighter pockets of space, which is very scary, which Darian said already. But if I was any defense, I mean, the same approach with Chawinga. What are we going to do to stop these women who are so technical in these tight spaces? Now she wants to set up her teammates. So we're probably going to see a lot more assists from her this season, not just goals, but assists as well. And that's what's going to help evolve Barbra Banda moving forward. And I'm excited to see it. I have my popcorn ready to see what she's going to continue to do, but she definitely looks much more comfortable. And it's only been the first game. Usually the first game, you got to dip your toe in the water, and, your touch isn't always great in the first game, And so when you move forward, you want to get better and better, but she was fantastic in the first game. And that says a lot what she did this offseason. So she came in prepared this year, because she knows what to expect from the NWSL. So now she's adding a little bit of repertoire to her soccer book.
100%. The other side of things, Washington Spirit was taking on Houston Dash, and they were coming off of the Challenge Cup. So these two teams were highlighted as the two best. They met in the final in 2024, and now they were opening up the weekend. Scoreline wasn't as ballooned as Orlando and Chicago with the 6-0. They end up walking away with a 2-1 victory. But we got to see some interesting stuff here between these two sides. But the Spirit are also continuing to sort of build on this early momentum that they have made for themselves. As far as this game, though, it felt like, okay, this is what NWSL is for me. It kind of gave a little bit of that competitive fierceness that we're used to seeing, because it's like, on the one hand, you had this very extreme scoreline, and then on the other, we've had a very, very good team that everyone is saying is going to maybe do some special things in 2025, going up against a Houston Dash side that made a lot of offseason moves, got a new head coach. And there was enough there to say, okay, they still have to prove themselves a little bit here with all these moves, but what's it going to look like? And we finally got to see that. What were maybe some key takeaways out of this one for you, Darian?
Washington Spirit to me was really an enjoyable game, because they still don't have their full roster backs. There's still a lot of players that are rehabbing, coming back from injury. Yes, we saw Trinity Rodman come in late in the match and get some touches, take some hits, go 1v1. She's picking up where she left off last year. But to me, the DNA of the Spirit was very, very evident. The way that they counter press, the way that as soon as they lose the ball, they're swarming, they're hitting. As soon as they regain it, they're looking to go forward. The first pass is going forward and breaking lines, and they're relentless about it. And I don't think, hell, that's a hell of an opening game for Houston Dash, with a new team, a new coach, figuring out how to drop off all of the baggage that they've had the last couple of years, just being the Houston Dash. And I actually think they rose to the occasion throughout the game. You saw them kind of find their footing. You see like glimpses of brilliance from Houston, where I think once they get that chemistry, they get into that rhythm of the season. As Jess said, it just usually you dip your toe in. It takes a couple games. It takes a bit to build those relationships. But it was a really good test, and I like it for Spirit. I like this for Houston. That was probably one of the more enjoyable, true NWSL games of the weekend that I loved watching.
Yeah, 100%. Just for with some of this competitive nature within this, so I think for the Spirit side of things, I'm curious your perspective on this, because maybe on paper they've got a lot of talent across the board. But coming out of Challenge Cup, they didn't have Trinity Rodman, and going into this game, they also didn't really have her as in a starting capacity, or as impactful as she could be in a starting capacity. And maybe for casuals or folks just tuning in for the first time for the grand event of whatever an opening weekend is, they're like, no, Rodman, that's going to be a problem for the Spirit. What does it say about this early glimpse of some of the depth of this Spirit squad?
Yeah, it's scary when you see a team have depth, because when one player goes down, and they proved it last season as well. They went through so many injuries last year and still made it to the final. So that lets you know how deep that bench is. So no matter who's starting, they're going to bring some fire, exactly what they did in this first game up against Houston. I love their identity. I love how hungry they are, even behind the ball. You could tell where their pressure pockets are. They're very well disciplined. You could tell exactly what they're trying to do. You could see what their identity is, and everybody is bought in. And that's a very difficult thing to do as a coach, as an organization, with the team, when everyone is able to be bought in and be successful. And for them to not have their star players playing this weekend, oh my goodness, imagine when they're going to be in. They're already winning games when they don't have their star players. So that lets you know that their bench runs so deep, and it is so impressive to watch. But I also love these players who step in, who don't get necessarily the playing time that they want, who aren't predominant starters, from Britt Ratcliffe, Ashley Hatch. She proved herself last season when she wasn't predominant starter. She started in the middle of the season last year. I'm happy she got the start over the weekend. I thought they were absolutely phenomenal over the weekend. And so that just shows you the talent that this roster truly has at the end of the day. And that is also scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's just week one, but it almost sort of seems like this is just a glimpse of scratching the surface a little bit. I think what was really exciting about this is to sort of see this Spirit side kind of take on this regular season game one, coming out of just winning the Challenge Cup. Like, what were we going to see? What type of adjustments were they going to make, if any? I think we saw that pretty early on with that starting 11, seeing Bernal slotting into that back line, after making that debut in the Challenge Cup. So a lot of really exciting stuff here. And it's nice. It's, look, for the neutral fan, or even, like I said, even casual fan, or even the diehard, you want to see some winners and you want to see a loser. So it was nice to see this opening Friday night kind of actually end in that. Like, you had a winner and you had a loser. And then we did get a third game with that type of result, but we also had a handful of draws as well. And we're definitely going to get into those too. But to kind of continue to show some love for the teams that kind of showed out, Kansas City Current walked away with all 3 points and 3 goals in a 3-1 victory against Portland Thorns. And look, Temwa Chawinga, how do you stop that? I have no idea. Darian, how do you stop that? I have no idea.
You can't. You can't. You cannot stop her. This is also another player I wanted to talk about, because to me, her and Banda both showed so much growth from last year. They are playing so much more. They're so much more involved with their teammates. There's much more chemistry. Last year, I think we saw a lot of times Banda and Chawinga where they pressed or they made runs and maybe got end line, and nobody else was caught up with them, because they are that tactically aware. They pick balls off, they make these incredible runs, but nobody can catch them, even their own teammates. And I think the opening weekend, we saw the evolution of the combination play, the pulling Banda, pulling Chawinga down a little bit more, where they're laying a pass off, then rolling out. Then the wingers are also going with them and catching up. Both just playing much more unselfish. It was really fun to watch the growth of the two of them, but setting their own teammates up for success. I mean, we didn't see a ton of assists from both of them last year, and we got them this weekend. Granted, both were called off, actually. Both of them had assists that were called offside, but it was still so fun to see, and just another layer of how both of these players are just a handful for a defense to go against. And I still have not seen somebody, other than maybe bumping them before they get going, be able to really stop them at full speed.
For sure. Chawinga opening up that goal scoring in just the 2 minutes. Michelle Cooper, aka Michelle Hooper, like getting that go-ahead goal in the 23rd minute. There was just so much good stuff here by the Current. I mean, if we had to look, Jess, if we had to rate the goalie, the goal celebration, what are you rating it out of 10 between Labonta and Cooper there?
Ooh, I gotta give it a hard 9 because that got me hype. Like Cooper ran to the bench, to celebrate with her teammates, which is something I love to see. But when she came out with that celebration, I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling this right now. So that's a hard 9 for me.
Yeah, for sure. The Binya adding a third goal there just before halftime, and the Thorns maybe tried to make a gain of it. Look, they didn't concede any more goals, right? I guess that's a silver lining. Olivia Moultrie gets on the board. That's honestly probably another huge silver lining for this team as they continue to try to maybe answer some of those offseason questions of who's going to score the goals for the team as they navigate without a Morgan Weaver or a Soph Wilson. Jess, before we start going into other segments on the show, we had a lot of draws, and I want to give you an opportunity to maybe speak a little bit about North Carolina Courage. Now, don't get too nice. They are going to honor you with the Ring of Honor this upcoming week, and we are going to continue to celebrate because you are an absolute NWSL legend, and we are so thrilled that they are going to give you that honor. What was it about this opening game that maybe you want to see them improve on? Because I have to say, like, there were parts of some of these draws that we saw around the weekend, in particular this one, that maybe kind of gave a bit of that out of preseason energy.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, defensively, they were still very well organized. Obviously, on the ball, being able to possess, they did really well at. There were some unforced errors here and there, as you would kind of expect in the first game of the season, a little shaky. But it's that final third. I love that Ryan Williams still gets in line, and she had a lot to do with Riley Jackson's goal. But I think something that they're going to struggle with this season, and it showed in the first game, is they don't have a big dog up top playing in the front line. So it's going to be interesting to see where their goals are going to come from. One of my favorite people to see up in the 9 position is someone of the likes of Brianna Pinto. She's almost like a Kristen Hamilton-esque. She can hold the ball up. She can turn. She can shoot. I saw her hold off Abby Ursig a few times last season. Abby Ursig, probably one of the strongest players who played in this league. She held her off, and she had some goals herself. So I'd like to see a little more pizzazz up top. I think it's just a little disconnected up front, and it showed a little bit last season as well. So hopefully they find someone in that 9 position who can hold the ball up, who's got a little bit of speed, who can get in behind, who can combine, just everything that you need in a 9. I think that's where their biggest struggle is, and I think that's going to continue this season if they don't make a change there.
Absolutely. And maybe we'll see it in week 2. We've got a few more things to talk about for sure. Everybody was going at it. All 14 clubs in action this weekend. We're going to chat more about what we saw over the weekend. Stick with us after a quick break. All right, we've got plenty more to chat about, because if you're joining us live, you're probably joining us right out of the gate from the final result of Angel City versus San Diego Wave. And there were some other things that took place in the build-up to this game, this closing call, this curtain call, this headliner of a match for opening weekend of NWSL. For Angel City, it actually came with an announcement from Sydney Leroux. She posted across her personal social media channels saying that taking a break from soccer to focus on my mental health was a really tough decision, but I know it's the best choice. Also, I know some of you can get a little carried away, so I wanted to squash the pregnancy rumors right away. I'll be back. just like always. So it sounds like Angel City, not only for game one, is going to continue to navigate their season without one of their core veteran pieces for this squad. Darian, what is it not so much like going to mean for Angel City to not be without her? Because I think we can all kind of assume what that is, but to kind of find yourself as a player, maybe weighing some certain things and to say you have to make a decision, because Sydney Leroux says it herself, it's not easy to reach that certain point.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and I want Sydney and her family know, like, we fully support you. I'm all up for athletes using mental health leave, and also it's so important to be vulnerable and share that, because everybody's going through stuff that you don't know. Everyone's dealing with their own battles. And I hope that this taking a step away to spend time with her family and just be by herself away from the game for a bit really gives her the resolution that she needs. And as far as what this means for Angel City, those are huge shoes to fill. One of the NWSL OGs. I mean, I can't list off all of Sid's accomplishments because then I'll take up the entire segment. But I think the weight of that is going to fall on these young players. I mean, this is one of the youngest teams, I think, on average age for Angel City we've seen come out and start an NWSL season. And the player that I was really looking to that ended up scoring, Alyssa Thompson. She looks so much more confident than she did last year. We saw that, I think, sort of sophomore season post World Cup where she was really struggling with her confidence. We didn't see her like smile, or it didn't seem as if she was enjoying the game as much. And now we're seeing that from the jump this season. So I would be scared to play against her. I think she's somebody on the front line they can rely on to make something out of nothing, because it wasn't the prettiest of games that we saw tonight. But there was moments of brilliance where we saw some really good combinations, some really good runs. Even her sister, Giselle Thompson, is taking shots and looking dangerous in the attack, which is something I've wanted her to add to her game. I know that she's had it, but been more worried about the defensive part. And now she can add into the attack. Angel City just has to have layers to their game, and it's not all just going to come through a Sid Leroux because now she's gone. They have to share the wealth, but Alyssa Thompson is somebody that I think can now handle that pressure and is effective at applying that pressure, and she got to go for it tonight.
I absolutely agree, because she's got her experience now in the NWSL. She knows what pressure is now. And so I think coming into this season, you can definitely see how much more confident she is on and off the ball. I mean, the runs that she was making today, the offside one when she went 1v1 against Sheridan, I mean, just a brilliant, absolutely brilliant run from Alyssa Thompson. You see her getting in line, you see her taking players on 1v1, but it's all with confidence. And you know exactly what she wants to do. She wants to do anything that she possibly can to get her team into the final third, to get herself into the final third. So I think this will definitely be a player who is going to thrive on putting her team on her shoulders, especially when the likes of Sid Leroux is out. Who's going to step up? And I know Sid is one of those leaders who probably sat with Alyssa and was like, "Hey, we're probably gonna need you," you know. And I know that the veterans on this Angel City team are really good leaders, especially when they're talking to the young ones and prepping them and pepping them up as well going into these games, because that's exactly what they need. They need leadership. And so Alyssa Thompson is such a young gun. She's got the experience, you know, a few years in the NWSL. She knows what to expect. She knows exactly what she can do. And now she's bringing it. And we saw it in the first game this season.
100%. You know, as far as maybe around the weekend here, it's some of these results that teams are walking away and having to settle with 1 point. That's not necessarily a bad thing coming out of opening weekend. But for, let's say, Utah and Bay FC, we're talking about biggest maybe takeaways or biggest moments that we want to react to in over the weekend. And I loved this link up between Mandy McGlynn and Bianca Georges in the 1-1 draw between Bay FC and Utah Rose. It was incredible, and it kind of lended itself to this trend that we saw across opening weekend with early goals. Chawinga scoring in the 2nd minute, Corley in the 5th minute, McCutcheon's goal for the Pride in the 7th, St. George in the 12th minute, Emma Sears in the 13th, Morris in the 16th, all these kind of early around 15-minute mark type of goals. Do we think that maybe that's going to be a trend that we continue to see over the course of the 2025 regular season? Or Jess, do you think this is more just kind of early days of NWSL figuring itself out?
Oh, this is definitely the early days of the NWSL figuring itself out, because by the season, you don't know what to expect, especially with the new personnel. We have so many new coaches, we have new players. And so I think that the competition is totally up in the air for grabs right now. But you can see the difference with some of these top teams to lower tier teams, but there's still a lot of time to improve. And that's what makes this league so exciting. You just don't know what to expect. So that's exactly how it is at the start of each season.
Yeah, I think that it's always crazy. You don't know how a team's going to come out, but just knowing from teams I've been on, and Jess, you can attest to this, the message is you come out swinging. You be the one to put them on their heels. You dictate the game from the opening minutes. The first 5 minutes, you want to have a shot. You want to have a 1v1 battle that you're winning, because that sets the tone for the opponent and for your team. Now, the McGlynn, Sandra, I'm so glad you brought this up, because one of my notes watching that match was McGlynn playing high and aggressive. What a blessing and such a curse. Because there's so many moments, and we've seen this happen with Mandy McGlynn, where there's a little bit of pressure applied, or maybe a ball's played a little hard back to her and her touch goes a little too far away, which Jess as a forward, you are licking your chops, ready to make that slide tackle, that pressure to
Salivating.
try to block that goalkeeper from being able to clear the ball. And if you get one of those, you know that you're in the keeper's head. You know that they're thinking, I need to get rid of the ball. They're nervous when a pass is coming to them. I think McGlynn handled the pressure really well, because it happened 2 or 3 times where they were really close. She had a really unforced error just playing out of the back. But then again, because she's playing like that sweeper role, they have another person to build in the attack. And she has a great ball. She's so technical with her long range balls. Gets the assist with Bianca St. George. It was a really beautiful goal. But I'm wondering, teams now watching Utah and saying, oh, bet, you want to have your keeper play really, really high out of the 18? Well, let's see what these transitions are like. I wouldn't be surprised if we see, I can't remember who they play next, but look to maybe chip her or try to just test Utah to have her sit back a little bit more.
Interesting. For me, I think one of the other, like, a big takeaway for me, because it is game one, and it's game one for everybody, the coaches, the players, their technical staffs, and the officials as well. We saw a lot of fouls. We saw a lot of yellow, different, and reds that were issued over the weekend. That was tough for me, in particular, coming out of this game, this most recent game with Angel City in San Diego. It almost was lending itself to almost a choppy game because of it. At times, I felt really early too. Kennedy Wesley getting a yellow, I think, in the opening 2 minutes, only for San Diego to go up in the 5th minute on a banger. So just I'm hopeful that maybe that's a little bit of a week one kind of energy that we're gonna quickly put behind us. Maybe we're gonna get to see the, shake it off officials. Maybe we're gonna get to see some different things. But we definitely saw things affect Seattle and Gotham a little bit. Look, I'm just gonna ask. There was a red card. Mandy Freeman. Jess, your thoughts on this moment, or Darian, your thoughts on this moment? Do you think is it one of those moments where it's gonna just affect Gotham so much in week 2 to not have this player available?
It's tough. Mandy's become such a leader on this team, and I'm so happy for her. I was hyped when I saw Freeman in the starting 11, because Mandy's been with that club since the jump, and she's been one of those players that's had such an up and down relationship with playing time for them. So to finally kick a season off where she's in the starting lineup, she's part of the leadership council, hell yeah. I will say, it was a poor tackle. It was a tough tackle. I saw it went, ooh, because it's from behind, it's late. I'm sure it was to take her down because she was getting away. I don't think the intention was to actually cause harm or for it to be an egregious foul. It did look that way looking from VAR. So it's tough with the red. I wish it wasn't a red. I wish it was just a yellow. But like we said, the refs were real card happy this weekend. Yes. Sandra, I second that. I hope that let them play. The first foul of the game doesn't deserve a yellow card. We saw that tonight. I thought that was bizarre. Let people get into the game. Let there be physicality. That's what this is about. You're at a professional level. There's going to be hard hitting. There's going to be a lot of shoulder to shoulder. I'm even thinking now Kundananji got a yellow in her game, and it was just a shoulder to shoulder tackle. There wasn't anything of malice in it. It wasn't excessive. The players couldn't really keep up with her strength. So I hope that that's reevaluated too going into the rest of the season, because it threw the tempo of the game off for me.
For sure. I do wonder if maybe we're gonna start to see that what was it, that good behavior rule get put into effect pretty early. Look, for people who don't know, or people who are psychos and want to read all about rules and regulations, there's a very lengthy document for the 2025 NWSL rules and regulations. And there's a good behavior rule. There's a caveat of good behavior will scale back some yellows. And I just couldn't help but think about that with all of the cards that were issued over this week. And I was like, wow, like that might actually really get put into effect. But even with a trio of teams walking away with pretty big victories, solid 3 points, and others splitting points, it really lended itself to that narrative kind of building itself into this opening weekend, where there are going to be some teams who have it together and they're going to pick up right where they left off. And there's going to be some other teams who still need some time to work things out. And there's going to be a whole other tier for teams who we don't really know if they're going to figure things out. Darian, I'll go with you first, and Jess, I'd love to hear your versions of this. But for you, who are the teams that have absolutely got it together? You're not worried about where they're going to go in 2025.
Well, that one's easy for me. The teams that I think got their ish together, it's Orlando Pride, Spirit, KC Current. They came out. We know exactly how they're going to play. We see the principles very clearly of what these teams want to do and how they're going to score goals. The most difficult thing when you're playing in 90 minutes, how are you going to score? Who's going to take the team? I think all three of these teams showed exactly that it's going to be a team win. We don't know who's going to score, but we're going to score. That is how I felt watching all of these teams play. I mean, Orlando's 6 goals, and at any moment thinking, who's going to score? I mean, a defender's going to score. Kansas City, they had 18 or 19 players on their team score last year, broke the record. Well, they might break it again this year, for all we know. And then Washington Spirit, they create so many chances by the way that they counter press and how they take advantage of teams' open spaces. So for those 3 teams, we know exactly what we're going to get the rest of the season. I think the opening game set the standard for all 3 of them.
Jess, for you, I mean, like we said, there were a ton of draws that took place. So who are the teams for you that you could see the recipe, but they're not quite cooking yet? Who maybe is like kind of in the middle tier for you?
Yeah, I would definitely have to go with Courage on this one, Racing Louisville, and I will probably sprinkle a little bit of San Diego Wave. I think San Diego was incredible today going up against Angel City, but a little shaky at times, pretty indecisive trying to combine in the midfield. And, they have a lot of young players, so you could tell that they're trying to get on their front foot and work as a team, and relying very much so on Cascarino, who was just on fuego today. She was the only player that stood out to me. And, Sheridan had a pretty incredible game as well. But as far as Courage, you guys already heard me earlier. They just need a big dog up top that they can combine with and who can bring that real 9 positional pizzazz. And I think that's just where their weakest link really is. And so with that being said, those are probably my 3 teams.
Nice. Well,
I would add Gotham in there.
I was going to say, I think there's room for some other kind of middle-esque kind of teams.
Like they're just missing some key players. They're missing players that you can really rely on. To me, I had Courage, Utah Royals, Louisville, Gotham, and San Diego. I think you can see what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see the vision. We need something. I'm not sure what it is yet. Maybe it's a big player, like you said, Jess, a 9 for the Courage. Maybe Gotham, it's just a little bit more combination play. Or shots on target. Louisville, how are you going to score in the run of play, not on a set piece? Royals, now you have other players who can score. You're not just relying on Ali Sentinor, but it's still kind of choppy. Those are the teams where I'm like, I see it. We're not there yet.
Not quite
I like
there.
it.
Yeah.
I would
I'm
even add
warm.
I would even add Dash in that too. Like they were again,
True.
they had a good response. They had a good response to the spirit, but I don't know if any of us are going to be convinced until we finally start seeing them actually getting some dubs or even some results. But my favorite is always the bottom tier category. The what is even going on here
The Crystal
category.
Palaces category.
Crystal Palace.
Some might say.
Hey,
I'll leave Crystal Palace out of this.
listen, you leave them out of this, and at least they got a win, unlike some of these other teams that I'm putting in this category. Look, Chicago, I think that goes without saying. What's going on here? Maybe you could try to struggle and find some silver linings, and maybe we'll get into that a little bit more. But not a good night by any means. Welcome back, Sam Staub. Welcome to the NWSL, Kayla Johnson. Like these are the very little things, right? But no idea where this team is going to go outside of the bottom half of the table. The Thorns, even though Olivia Moultrie got that goal, there's still a ton of question marks. I think as at least as many as there were coming in to this game one for the Thorns. And I would even argue, even though they managed to scrape out a draw, Bay FC for me, I'm not too sure where and or if they could sort of go in a certain trajectory or what that even looks like into week 2 and beyond. So it's just game one. It's early. I'm sure we're going to have more to talk about as these weeks continue to roll out. But I want folks to get ready for this next segment because we want to actually continue to praise some of the performances that we saw over the weekend. And we're going to do that with a best 11. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break. All right, we're back. Let's continue the show. Let's talk about some player performances, players who stood out to the point where they're going to make our first official attacking third best 11 of week 1. Make sure you tune in on Sunday evenings with attacking third because we will be issuing our best 11 throughout the season. No one else is doing that. We're doing it. We want to show some love to players who stood out over the week. And I'm going to pass the baton to you, Darian, because you are going to tell us who you have leading the way with the forwards.
This was tough. NWSL has always been yacked with talented forwards, but I wanted to go with who I thought had the best games, were most effective all around on both sides of the ball for their teams. And to no one's surprise, first and foremost, Temwa Chawinga. Of course, she's making my front line probably most weeks out of the entire year. Just be ready to hear her name every Sunday, I'm assuming. Another player that I'm going to throw in there is Barbra Banda. She had a brace. She had an assist. It's a player that both of those players have grown so much from last year. Teams cannot handle them. It just... yeah, I want whatever they're drinking because I want the skin like they have. I want the athleticism they have. It's just so effective. And those are key players for these teams and for this league. And last but certainly not least, I have to give some love, Jess, to our former Courage teammate, Ashley Hatch. Yes, girl. She finally gets a start. She comes in, she scores a goal. She's so effective. She hustles on both sides of the ball. This is a team also that's missing an Andy Sullivan, and I think she fits into that leadership role so well. And I think this was such a statement game for her to open the season like this and tally another goal on her illustrious career. I love it for her. I can't wait to see what she does the rest of the year. And maybe we'll see her and Ule Sar in a double 9 at some point. I think that could be fun to have them both on the pitch. But those are my 3 starting forwards for the best 11 this week.
Love it.
Hachi and Sar as a double 9.
Ooh, putting it out there. Everyone wasn't a 3-back this weekend, I will say. So maybe everyone's listening to A3. Who knows?
We're out here naming the best 11 and also manifesting some things. I love it.
Hey, you never know.
I love it here. Jess, who you got in the midfield first?
All right.
Best 11? My
midfield. I definitely enjoyed Dabinia over the weekend. Dabinia just doing Dabinia things. I mean, she just like brought her Brazilian samba in the midfield, of course, as she always does, as expected. But did y'all notice that she juggled multiple midfielders,
Like
dished it
nothing.
out to Michelle Cooper like it was nothing, gets into the box and finishes it? Obviously, like the ball came bouncing out, Dabinia was able to tap it in, but she started that playoff juggling people. And with her experience, I mean, you just see her game growing, and it's been nothing short of amazing. So I think she had a very great first game that kept me at the edge of my seat. So I really enjoyed watching her. My next one is Angelina. She was absolutely amazing in the midfield for Orlando Pride. I love that the fact that she's getting behind the ball. I think that she was so great in the final third. She can combine. I mean, she's so good 1v1 when she's under pressure, getting out of tight spaces. I love her technique. I mean, she's just been such an impressive player to watch in the midfield for this Orlando Pride side. And then last but not least, I did enjoy Taylor Flint over the weekend. Obviously,
Nice.
she's good in the air. She was getting to the final third. She smacked the woodwork over the weekend that could have put Racing Louisville up 2-1. I think that her defensive presence has grown as well. I mean, she went through some hard tackles over the weekend, and that was something that stood out to me for Taylor Flint because that was something she wasn't doing beforehand. So I think being able to get behind the ball, obviously we know how her technical ability is on the ball as well. So she's not only in defensive third, what you expect from your sixth, but she's also getting in the final third as well, as we saw that she was able to create some chances.
I got a little nervous. I thought, oh no, are we going for an all Brazilian midfield? Like it would have been amazing. It
I
would
was
have
this
been
close
amazing.
because
I
I
was
really
like
wanted to put
waiting.
Marta on there. So
I
I'm
was
like,
I was waiting for it. I was like, we might be going there. We might be trending in this direction. Okay, well, can't have an attack without a defense, and I got the honors of rolling out with that. We had approximately just one clean sheet out of this opening weekend, and it belongs to Anna Morehouse. I'm going to give her the honor of guarding the net in our best 11.
Yeah.
But I really liked the performance that we saw for Gotham out of Shapinski. And I really like Davidson as well. I think maybe she's going to be on her way to have a nice, healthy season for Gotham. I've got Casey Kruger in the mix as well because I don't think we need to say any more about it. It's Casey Kruger. She's one of the best defenders in the league and in the world. And of course, I had to throw in Rebecca Bernal. Let's go, Rebe. Let's rev it up, honestly, because I loved the performance for this player coming into technically what is week 2 for her, but week 1 of regular season. Stepping up and stepping big. I mean, there were some testy moments for the Spirit going up against the Dash. Delaney Sheehan at one point during that game getting a rocket off, and there's a rebound that's given up by Kingsbury, but Bernal is there to immediately get this away. And you could see how amped up the teammates are, the body language. And you also see in a next sequence, they end up going up with that first opening goal. And sometimes, just sometimes, those defensive moments that amp up your team end up leading to those attacking sequences. So that's it. That's our best 11. You like it. I hope you also love it. But what an incredible week 1 to just sort of welcome and ring in the regular season. There was just so many cool things that we probably didn't get a chance to talk about. We have to give congratulations to Ellie Wheeler after getting a dub. Got a proposal. Her fiance proposes after the victory against Portland, and spoiler alert, she said yes, but ended up going ahead and celebrating with all of her teammates. So we also want to extend our congratulations to her as well on attacking third. Jaden Shaw making some history, such a young player, but already notching her 50th NWSL regular season appearance. Dorian Bailey getting her 100th regular season appearance. Justina Gaynor, Chicago Red Stars, 1,000th player to ever take the pitch. So lots of notable things across the weekend outside of these really incredible, outstanding performances. Any final thoughts? I know folks are clamoring to keep an eye on rookies. Darian, is there a silver lining for Chicago here with their rookies?
There is. And her name is Michaela Johnson. Y'all, I was so impressed. Did I just say y'all?
Yep.
You did.
Did I hear my?
I was
And
gonna
I'm
let
okay with
I was
that.
gonna let you pass it. But go
I
ahead.
don't know who I was 5 seconds ago. Sorry, guys. I don't know who just took over my body. You guys, I was so impressed with Nikayla Johnson. She came in and looked confident. I mean, she looked like she was in year 2 or 3 of her NWSL career. I loved how physical she was. She's clearly a 1v1 artist. She's very technical, very hungry to score. I think it was such an energy booster for Chicago that gave me a little bit more faith in Chicago's creativity in the attack. I think she's a player that they can build minutes on and rely on her to come in and be effective at moments where, hey, run at this defender. Let's just test her and see, and let's try to move this ball up away from our back line for just a little bit of the game. So she's a rookie I was super impressed by, and I really can't wait to see more of from Chicago and Lauren Donaldson.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll see what happens in week 2. New faces, new acquisitions, and new signings, and rookies have a whole season in front of them to make an impact. And I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about that as the 2025 NWSL regular season continues to unfold. That's it. That's a wrap for myself, Sandra Herrera, and Jess McDonald, and Darian Jenkins. Make sure you tune into Attacking Third on Sundays. And of course, follow wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating. We will return on Tuesday at 11 a.m. So tune on in for all your women's soccer news. That's it. We'll see you on the next one.